So in characteristic Tahoe fashion, we are starting a few minutes late today because it's been hard to get people to come in from outside. But I want to say good morning, Tahoe Donner. It is now 10:08 a.m. I officially call the 2026 Tahoe Donner Annual Meeting to order. Along with Annie Rosenfeld, our general manager, we have 4 out of 5 of the board members here with us today. Denise Gawney, our vice president. Jay Wertheim, vice treasurer. And Courtney Morell, board secretary. Courtney is concluding a total of 9 years of service on the board to our community. Don Kunis, our treasurer, sends his regrets that he is unable to join us for today's annual meeting. And I am Benjamin Levine, president of the board. As president and speaking on behalf of the entire board, I want to welcome everyone to this year's annual meeting and member expo. Before I make a few announcements, we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Today we are pleased to have a retired United States Army officer, a former Tahoe Donner Finance Committee chair, and a recovering Tahoe Donner board member leading us in the pledge. Lieutenant Colonel John Dundas, United States Army, retired.
Thanks, Benjamin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Enjoy.
John, we thank you for your service to the country and our community. Now for a few announcements. First, it's not too late to vote in this year's board election. If you brought your ballot with you today, please turn it in to the Inspector of Elections just inside the door behind the tent. Replacement ballots are also available from the Inspector of Elections. Voting closes at 11:30 a.m. sharp. Later this morning, members will have an opportunity to ask the board and staff about anything on your mind. Well, almost anything. The questions should probably be about Tahoe Donner. If you're joining us online, please email your questions to comdep@tahoedonner.com. That is COMDEP@tahoedonner.com. If you're here in person, please use the comment cards available at the table just in the back. Deadline to submit questions is 11 a.m. We are also thrilled to have so many folks here today representing Tahoe Donner's committees and chartered clubs, not to mention all the folks representing the town, local agencies, and organizations. Before you head home, please make the rounds and visit with all of them. Finally, our barbecue lunch will begin right after we announce the election results. It's buffet style with 2 lines. Staff will be serving. Non-alcoholic drinks are complimentary, with alcohol available for purchase at Pizza on the Hill. That covers opening business and announcements, which means we are on to speeches. Vice Treasurer Jay Wertheim will deliver the annual Treasurer's Report. We're delighted to have Jen Calloway, Truckey's Town Manager, as our keynote speaker. And Tahoe Donner's General Manager, Annie Rosenfeld, will provide her annual remarks to the members. With that, I regret to inform you that all available options for me to delay my President's address have now been exhausted. When I delivered the President's address last year, I spoke about the backlog of projects that the board and staff were working through. The new deck at the marina, the expanded Glacier Way trailhead, the boardwalk and bridge at Coyote Crossing, all stalled and deferred for 10 or 12 or 15 years. Today, all built. Then there's the project that was stalled and delayed even longer, the new ski lodge, also now built. And built on time and under budget. We also completed the first comprehensive update to Tahoe Donner's capital and financial policies in more than a dozen years. And just a couple days ago, we finished updating the board's organizational and governance policies, some of which had not been updated since the early 1990s, and still included provisions about fax machines. We also moved forward with the phased implementation of the new amenity access rule. That rule is grounded in a simple idea. As shared extensions of our private homes, our private amenities should primarily serve Tahoe Donner members' personal use and enjoyment. To make sure members feel at home and welcome in the amenities we co-own and jointly support, the rule removes barriers to member use, whether those barriers were costs, complications, or crowds. That's why 6 months ago, the annual recreation fee and member daily access fees were eliminated, making private amenity access a core member right and benefit that all Tahoe Donner members can enjoy without additional nickel and dime fees. When we first started work on the rule, we assumed it was largely a technical project, updating access categories, fee structures, and administrative procedures. 3 years and countless hours of meetings later, when we approved the new rule in 2024, we understood that the project was much more than a technical update. It was about our community's core values and principles. The new rule is a statement about Tahoe Donner's fundamental commitment to members first governance. This phrase, members first, has emerged as a prominent theme in Tahoe Donner. Though not everyone uses the phrase the same way, I see two consistent themes. First, the phrase recognizes that members are the owners, funders, stewards, and beneficiaries of the community. Tahoe Donner's governance, operations, and planning should honor, protect, and enhance the rights, benefits, and enjoyment and long-term value of membership. Second, members first should not be confused with members only. The first in members first explicitly recognizes our primary responsibility to our members, but it also implicitly recognizes our secondary and tertiary responsibilities extending beyond our membership. Responsibilities that call for a measure of neighborly goodwill toward Truckee and the broader region that surrounds us. These themes featured prominently in a recent board discussion about the upcoming Tahoe Donner Community Plan. Going deeper than traditional capital improvement plans, looking more broadly than the Trails Master Plan and the Land Management Plan. The Community Plan will take a holistic look at Tahoe Donner, its values, and its aspirations. It will be the most comprehensive long-range planning effort Tahoe Donner has undertaken in more than 15 years. And it will aim to align our members' experience, amenities, operations, and stewardship around a shared vision for Tahoe Donner's future. The amenity access rule elevated Members First into a core governing principle. The community plan gives us the opportunity to establish Members First as the foundation for Tahoe Donner's future. For those of us with long Tahoe Donner memories, talk of the future naturally stirs nostalgia for Tahoe Donner's past. As a child in the early 1980s, I learned to ski in Tahoe Donner at our cross-country center's original location, right here behind the clubhouse in Bennett Flat Meadow. When my family returned to Tahoe Donner in the 1990s, some streets still felt half empty with vacant lots. The lodge did not exist. The pavilion was a swimming pool. Alder Creek Adventure Center, a horse barn. Trout Creek had only just been built and was less than half the size it is today. The heart and soul of today's Tahoe Donner, our cherished trail system, barely existed. Back then, the wildfire, forest health, insurance, and emergency preparedness challenges that preoccupy us today hardly entered our minds. Such nostalgia should remind us that the future is never merely the elaboration of the past. We cannot predict every challenge and opportunity the years ahead will bring, but we can prepare thoughtfully. That is the purpose of the community plan, to protect the strength and vibrancy of our community, prepare our association for the years ahead, and make sure Tahoe Donner faces the future on its own terms. Along with staff and the entire board, I look forward to the conversations that we will have in the coming years with you, the members, about Tahoe Donner's future. Thank you for being part of the work ahead to steward and strengthen our community. Thank you for being here today. Next up on our agenda, I'd like to introduce Jay Wertheim, our Vice Treasurer, who will deliver this year's Treasurer's Report.
And thank you, Benjamin, and welcome to everyone here. I'm Jay Wertheim. It's a pleasure to deliver the Treasurer's Report today, as long as I'm not eating the microphone. Anyway, look, a couple of things. I want to take a few minutes. I'm going to quickly cover at least some of the highlights I think about our association. I'm going to talk very, very briefly about last year's operating performance, and last year being December 31, the year ending December 31, 2025. I purposely will not spend very much time on it because everybody probably has seen the annual report, which came out a few months ago. It's 25 pages of financial information. I don't want to take everyone's time reviewing that in any detail. I will talk a little bit about the where we are in 2026, technically through May 31st, which is the end of last month. Then I want to speak very briefly about oversight and communication, and then just a tad bit about the future. So, two things that I'd ask you to think about and that I will come back to at the end in terms of major themes. One, we're in a very strong financial position, which is wonderful for a homeowners association. And two, we have strong financial oversight and policies, which I believe will keep us in very good standing for the future. So, on our association overview, just a couple of notes. Many of you may know we have about slightly under 6,500 properties here. It's one of the biggest associations in California and perhaps in the United States. We have over 7,000 acres of private, common, and open space. It's remarkable. It's absolutely beautiful. It's something I think we all cherish and work very hard to preserve. We also have about 94 full-time employees, but it grows during the course of the year to about 1,000 employees of the association. The big difference here are part-time seasonal employees. It takes a lot of people to keep our operations running in the winter and in the summer with our camps and all the other activities that go on here. It's remarkable, truly remarkable. We do very, very well. Our receipts for 2025, about $43 million, about half of which, slightly half of which come from our assessment, and slightly, a little bit more than half come from our receipts and various income from our amenities and other places. That's about all I'm going to say about our association. I think many of us know it very, very well. Our operating performance in 2025, again, feel free to pull out this report at your convenience. We did very well, very well. Our receipts were slightly over what we had planned. Our expenses slightly over, also because of those additional receipts. But net, basically, we were about $1.8 million favorable to budget at the end of 2025. So, again, congratulations to all. Okay. We talk about 2026. We started the year a little tough. I think most people remember it wasn't all that long ago, just a couple months ago. We had a tough winter. We had a really tough winter. Snows didn't come quite at the right times, but that's the weather, and there's not a whole lot we can do about that. So our revenue is a tad bit under what we expected. Our expenses were a little bit more than we had expected. So we're making a variety of adjustments this year, but we do expect perhaps that we may be a little bit under budget come the end of this year. On the other hand, things could change considerably, and we'll see where we go. Okay? So with that, now let me just quickly turn to some of our fund balances. As of the end of last month, our total cash balance is about $35 million. That's a very strong position for us to be in. It is spread among, a variety of our funds. Our repair and replacement fund is about half of all of that cash. I think it's on the chart there. Our operating fund, about $7.3 million. We use that for basic operations. And then the top, I guess it's the left quarter, is a lot of our reserve funds, capital improvements, long life, new equipment, and so on. But again, it shows a good kind of allocation of where our funds are and what we do with them. Our next pie chart, kind of like pie charts, shows about our investment portfolio. And with $35 million, you can imagine we don't just keep it sitting in our checking account, not drawing interest. So we do invest it very carefully. We invest based on a combination of things, primarily when and where we're going to need funds. Certainly dictates kind of the time length of certain investments. But we have about half of the investments in U.S. Treasuries. We have some in money market. We have some in corporate bonds, some in municipal bonds. If anyone wants to see the particular percentages, they're generally on the chart there, in the pie chart. We can talk more specifically at some other time. But it's a very well-balanced portfolio. All our bonds are well-rated, and as I said, our investments are consistent with our investment policy, and watched very carefully by our finance people, by our board and finance committees and so on, which gets me into board oversight of finances and member communications. Our finances are reviewed very carefully on a monthly, quarterly basis, not only by certainly the finance committee, certainly by staff, by a subcommittee of the board, as well as by the full board, all of which is available to all members. It's one of the things that I am very impressed with this organization, how open we are about all this information for those people, those members who want to look into this and pay very close attention. It is all available. Many members I know are just happy that other people are running it and running it well. It gets a little bit, the analogy of, how much do you really want to see the sausage being made? Some people do, some people don't. Let's just benefit from all the insight and the perspective that we have. In terms of transparency and how people think about all of this, it is truly remarkable how much influence members have in our financial policies and our decisions. In terms of building a budget, our meetings are open, and those members who wish to participate and have their views heard certainly can speak up at any time. We have a variety of board meetings, finance committee meetings in the development of the budget, the implementation, the discussion, and so on. So I invite any member who wants to pay more attention to the finances of this organization to attend some of these meetings, listen and watch what goes on, participate, make your views heard. So a lot of that is ongoing and is going, as I said, every year. The budget process actually starts just about now, the middle of the summer, end of the summer. Financial policies that our president spoke about a minute ago in terms of newly adopted policies, again, are always open and were discussed by many members. Those policies are adhered to by all of our staff and our board. I want to mention that finance is not just preparing reports in terms of historical data. It is certainly, one of the very important parts of what we do, what the Finance Committee does and the staff does, but it's also very important to be forward-thinking and forward-looking. So among the things that we are doing, the finance professionals in this organization are doing, they've changed fairly recently to cashless operations within all of Tahoe Donner. That provides a good opportunity for efficiency and accuracy. We're constantly reviewing those areas of the budget and expenses that are sometimes difficult to control, such as insurance and risk management. But as any homeowner knows, insurance bills are something that everybody looks at. So we too look at insurance and other areas to determine if there are better ways of doing things, more effective, more efficient. But it's an ongoing, future-looking opportunity, and we're constantly looking at all of our systems. Like any other business or any other company, we have revenues and receipts and accounts payables and receivables and payroll and this and that. All these systems ideally are integrated, but as anyone knows, they're not. Software vendors are constantly upgrading their systems, and so systems integration, data reporting, and so on is also an area where we all spend a lot of time looking and trying to keep our systems updated and improved and enhanced. Finally, I guess I would just bring up kind of what, as I call it, what keeps us up at night. We can do a lot of planning. We have wonderful professionals. We have wonderful expertise. We have a wonderful commitment of people here. But we are subject to weather. And as I said earlier, this winter, we've got a lot of snow, but kind of at the wrong times. And we also have weather issues throughout the year, whether it's the rain, whether it's the temperature, whether it's sometimes the winds, and people here may remember a couple of years ago there were fires in Yosemite Valley, but the prevailing winds brought a lot of smoke into Tahoe Donner. That affected summer operations. We can't control the weather. We just can't. But we can plan for it. During the course of the year, some things go better than expected, some things go sometimes not as well as expected. But overall, we do very, very well and usually get extraordinarily close to budget given the circumstances. So I commend everyone in terms of our staff, in terms of the dedication and the people who are constantly watching and adapting our operations to make this a wonderful environment for everyone. I said early on there were kind of two themes, and I just want to get back to that, and I hope people understand and certainly can ask me questions later. And that is the two important themes. One, we're in a very, very good financial position, and again, I commend all of our membership and of all of our staff for that. We also have very strong financial oversight, and that is very important, not only historically, but prospectively. So that's the Treasurer's Report. I thank everyone for listening for probably what isn't always the most interesting part of the annual meeting, but it's a pleasure to be able to report what I think is very good information. So with that, I'm going to ask our General Manager to come up to the podium, who will introduce our keynote speaker. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jay. I'm pleased to introduce Jen Calloway, the Town of Truckee's town manager. She has been the town manager for 5 years now, so certainly been sitting in her seat for a while, and she has a lot of exciting things to share with you. So with that, Jen, thank you for coming.
Okay, great. This is great. I've been told I talk quietly, surprisingly, so if you can't hear me, this sounds pretty robust. But if you can't hear me, raise your hand and I'll do better, or at least I'll try to do better. Also want to introduce, we have James and Justin in the back there with the town. They are our dynamic duo in our emergency services division, which is one of our newer divisions here at the town. They'll be tabling over here after the program, and you can stop in and ask them questions. But they're going to assist me today. We're going to have some trivia, and we have some premier swag in our trivia for prizes. So listen closely. I'm giving most of the answers away. So it's really a test if we're paying attention. And James and Justin will go around with the swag bag, and the people that can answer the questions, the first one, the answers will get to pick their swag. But good morning to everybody. Thanks for digging out the puffies. It's a little chilly this morning, weather in Truckee, of course, and coming out. It's a pleasure to serve as your town manager. I'll be starting 6 years in October, and it's hard to believe it's been that long, and it's really, truly a joy. When Annie asked me to do the keynote speech, I was like, what am I going to talk about? There's so much. And she said, you have 20 to 25 minutes. I'm like, okay, what are the goals? So my 3 goals, and you can help me decide if we achieve those at the end. You learn something new. You're reminded of something that maybe you knew and just forgot, and then we have a little fun, so hence the trivia. I want to start by just saying thank you. Thank you to your leadership and to your team here at Tahoe Donner, as well as the community. We have really been building in partnership with Tahoe Donner, and it is your forward-thinking mindset and approach that has helped us to pilot really key programs in the town, TART Connect being one of them. So if you're not familiar, TART Connect is our essentially our version of Uber. It's a fare-free door-to-door service. We piloted that starting about 3 years ago. It's now fully funded, operational town-wide. But if it weren't for our key partners, Tahoe Donner, the hospital, Visit Truckee Tahoe, and a few others, we would not have piloted that program, and I don't believe we would have that running throughout the community today. So thank you for that. We have other really cool partnerships and great projects with Tahoe Donner. We're doing evacuation planning throughout the whole town, and then a specific focus with Tahoe Donner, and that's part of the funding partnership with your community, roadside vegetation, and we're planning, working collaboratively to plan some pretty impressive trails that we're excited about. So just thank you for showing up, and thank you for being such great partners with us. I'm going to start with, I think I have the slides here because I can't see them over there. So the vision slide. This is the vision in our Truckee 2040 general plan. It was adopted a few years ago, and this is kind of our North Star, our guiding principles for all that we're doing at the town. I'm just going to take a minute and read this. In 2040, Truckee is welcoming, inclusive, and thriving mountain town with a diverse community, strong four-season economy, and healthy environment. Truckee features a variety of housing types, arts and culture, and services to support residents and visitors. Our historic downtown is the heart and soul of our town. As the hub, it connects and revitalizes an accessible Truckee River, our neighborhoods, and regional amenities through a comprehensive network of multi-use trails and transportation solutions. So that vision statement is supposed to encompass all that we are, our community character and our community values, and is really guiding all of the programs and policies that the town and the council are moving forward. We spend a lot of our time, and one of our key focus areas is core services. These are the reasons we incorporated as a community. And then we have council priority areas, and those are housing, infrastructure, emergency preparedness, climate and sustainability, and community cohesion. But the story of this year is all about momentum. We've adopted the 2040 general plan, and we're implementing, we're building houses, we're building trails, we're working on climate initiatives, and we're really excited about all that work that we're doing. But let's start with the core services. Again, I mentioned 85 to 90% of our work at the town is core services. The reasons we incorporated: maintaining roads, plowing snow, building trails, plowing the trails so that you can use those year-round, our land use and development policies. We provide public safety. Our budget season runs July 1 to June 30th, so we're different from you. We're starting our new budget that was recently adopted at the end of the week. And in that budget, we've included a new police officer position to help build our public safety functions. We're planning for police and public safety needs from facilities and equipment. Our roads crews are out. We maintain 165 miles of roads in Truckee. And so for context, that's the equivalent of driving from Truckee to Napa. That's the amount of road that we're maintaining every year. Covers about 20,000 acres and 35 square miles is our land mass, one of the biggest actually in the state for a town of our size. And then we have 25 miles of paved trails that we maintain year-round. So we are starting to add some striping on some of the trails. We stencil some trail etiquette messages to remind people to be kind and courteous out on the trails and think of all the users on the trails. We have a new speed limit on the trails now as well as a result of our e-bikes. So you will see some of our officers out there, and it's very hard to enforce speed limits on trails, but they're out there as a reminder, and the signs are there to really serve as a reminder to slow down and be cautious of everybody that's using the trails. Our planning and building team, they're there really making sure we have responsible development that are meeting the standards and the character that our community has asked for. And then we are launching new permitting software. So this is a multi-year approach, but we have a new online permitting platform. It's in a soft launch phase right now. You can come in over the counter or do it at home, enter your permit. We're doing the simpler ones right now: re-roofs, decks, mechanical and plumbing, that sort of thing. We're hearing really great feedback. It's very easy to use from a customer service perspective, and we're hoping to continue rolling that out with some of the more complicated permits. So these are the core services. They're not always the most visible, but they are often the way you interact with your local government the most. So I want to talk a little bit about how we're funding these in our budget, and thank you for teeing this up so well. We have, in our recently adopted budget that goes into effect July 1, $105 million is the town budget. And that's broken out. $42 million of that is in capital projects and $63 million is in our operating. And this is how we get to do all the fun, great things that we're doing. So to talk about our revenues a little bit, our largest revenue source is property tax, followed by sales tax, and then TOT. Property tax is about $19 million. And I always take time during budget season with our teams internally, and whenever I'm talking to people, is to really stop and think about what do these revenue sources mean and how are they collected. And it's a bit astounding. I'm surprised every year when I'm reminded of this. But for property tax, there's 1% of property tax that comes back into the county, and the town receives about 15% of that. It actually varies throughout the town from 13% to 23%, so we use an average of 15%. So for $30 million in development, the town gets 15% of the 1%, and that equates to about $45,000. So when you think of our budget at $19 million of property tax revenue coming in, that is a lot of development and a lot of property tax that's generating that $19 million. Similar to that is sales tax. And for every $100 of sales tax in the state of California, $67 of that goes to the state. About almost $3 to the state and local transportation funds. Nevada County Library gets just shy of $3. Town of Truckee General Fund receives $11. Our Measure V, Measure U, and Measure E funds, those are all special funds. I'll talk about those in a minute. They get about $5.50. So for a total of $6.6 million of sales tax, and that's how much we have in revenue for sales tax, means $725 million of taxable goods are sold in the state, or in the town of Truckee. So it's pretty remarkable, and I think just a good reminder for us as we think of our budget. My last budget slide, I promised special revenue funds. We are so incredibly grateful and fortunate at the town that the community has voted continuously to impose sales tax measures to fund very specific things. Measure E is our most recently adopted special tax, and that is funding our Wildland Protection Agreement, our TART Connect services, and many of our other emergency preparedness services. Our Measure RU, that is our trails and maintenance sales tax. We are the only community in the state that has a dedicated trails tax, and I think that just really speaks to the value of our community places on our trail system. Measure K is a TOT, that's a transient occupancy add-on tax, and we use that to fund our housing programs. And then we have impact fees as well. We most recently, well, it hasn't been certified yet, our roads tax was recently renewed by the community at about a 77% passage rate. So that is fully dedicated to maintaining our road system here in the town. Okay, I'm going to pause. We're going to start trivia. See if you were paying attention. If you know the answer, raise your hand. James and Justin are ready to go with the swag bag. What is the largest revenue source for the town? I saw this hand. Property tax. So she's got it. Right here, second, third row. Okay. We have 5 of them. Name one council priority. Who said climate? Back there, you're right. Okay, we're down to 4. Name another one. Infrastructure, James up here, gentleman in the orange, rusty. Sustainability, so if infrastructure, oh, we already said sustainability with climate. Emergency preparedness, I'll give you that for safety, it's close. Who said, I couldn't see who said that. Okay, way in the back, James. And then gentlemen, you had, yay, housing, yes. Trails is correct, but it is part of our infrastructure. So already said, but you are correct. Okay, great. So we're going to talk about our priorities, which are over here on the side. I'm going to start with emergency preparedness and wildfire resilience. It's true. Ben said this back 20 years ago. We didn't have the mega fires that we're experiencing today, and a lot has shifted. In fact, in our previous general plan, the 2025 general plan, which which was adopted in early 2020, the reference to fire was partner with Truckee Fire, and that was about it because it just wasn't as big of an awareness as it is today. So we have grown in our emergency services. We have 2 full-time staff people now. We started this division about 5 years ago as a full-time division, and we're just really excited about the work that they're doing and excited to share with you. This was recently announced, but Truckee was recognized by the State Board of Forestry as a fire risk reduction community, and that actually means some things. It's not just a designation. Thank you. We're one of 42 in the communities in the state with this recognition. Nevada County is also recognized, and Truckee Fire. So we're all working really closely together on this. And what does it mean? It means that we may qualify for more grant funding to bring more resources into the area. And it may mean that you could qualify for insurance reduction. So call your insurance provider, let them know we have this designation, and you may qualify for some reduced rates. Next, we have a new emergency alerting system. We were operating under Code Red. That is actually owned through the county. They buy that service, and we partner with them. The Code Red service had a cyber breach, and so we are no longer using them. But now we have Nevada County Alerts. You may have already received notification from that, so much of the data transported over, and you don't have to re-sign up, but in some cases you might have to. James and Justin will be at the table. We're happy to help you see if you're registered or not, and this is the notification system that will let you know if there's evacuation, if there's anything going on in the community that you need to be aware of. It works very similar to Code Red in that we can do alerting based on zones and districts, so you might not see much of a difference, but it is a new platform. And then lastly, in this area, one of the key things we're focused on is our evacuation planning. So our consultant team is over here as well. There's some interactive maps. We're doing this town-wide and then a specific focus in Tahoe, Donner. And this is really our leading up to our roadmaps to recovery, which we're working on. How would we rebuild if we needed to? Trying to get all the systems in place for if and when we're in that position, and hopefully we won't be, but we want to be prepared. So please give us that feedback, and it really helps us plan for what is the best evacuation strategies that we can have in place. While I'm on public safety, I want to mention that Monday night we have a public safety meeting. The town has a Chiefs Advisory Committee. There's about 12 community members that sit on that committee. They come every month, meet with our chief and our PD staff, and talk about various issues with policing or various things that the department is doing. They're generally not public meetings, but this meeting will be public. We're going to have all of our police equipment, technologies that we use, and have an opportunity you can go through and see the new boat will be on site. We have new motors. Those are all new equipment that the police department received grant funding for, so no town general fund dollars were used to buy those. It was all state of California grant funds. The boat will be out this weekend for 4th of July, so please be careful out there. In all seriousness, we've already had incidences at Donner Lake. Please be careful. Remember to wear your life vests, and just recreate and have fun, but do so responsibly. And then our motors are out and about as well. You'll notice that we have new boulders down at Donner Lake if you've been down there. It might feel like we're trying to take away parking, but we're really not. We're trying to designate what is appropriate parking. Parking in the bike lane's a no-no here, so if you didn't know that, please don't do it. Our biking community does not like it. It's very unsafe for them. So the boulders are put in places where you really can't park appropriately. You're either in the bike lane or you're on the side of the road and causing erosion into the lake. So that's why those were placed there. You'll notice the speed limit has been reduced as well down at Donner Lake. It's now 30 miles per hour, and the road is narrower. So that's all to help with some safety for our pedestrians and our bicyclists down there. And along with that grant to purchase those 2 new motors that we have, there was funding for overtime to do enforcement. So they will be out there, and they are doing enforcement down on Donner Lake. So be prepared for that. For infrastructure and mobility, I really just wanted to again say thank you for TARC Connect. That was a big part of our infrastructure work plan and our mobility efforts, as well as our trails. We are really also focused on the river corridor in downtown. We spent a lot of time with our river revitalization efforts. We have an action plan, and we are working with 3 property owners as catalyst sites down there to enhance not only the new park space, but also some space on the western side of West River Street and the eastern end as well, and try to learn from those catalyst sites about how we can support property owners in either revitalizing their current property, or in some cases property owners are interested in removing their industrial use off of the river to another more appropriate place in town. So we're trying to understand what those barriers are and how we can continue to support those. Okay, trivia time again. We're going to do 2 more questions. How many miles of roads do this? Excellent. Well done. You were ready for that. Good. Okay. And then how many miles of trails does the 25? I think I heard, gentlemen, I heard you first. You guys are doing great at trivia. I need to make my questions harder, or at least not give the answers out. Okay, for housing and community vitality, we have been spending a lot of time, effort, and dollars into housing for our local workforce. All of our housing programs we call it workforce housing, and what that means is we are housing people that work within the school district boundaries. So it doesn't necessarily have to be within the town boundaries, but it is within our school district boundaries so people can live where they're working. We have a number of programs that actually we have started here in Truckee and now are going nationwide, Lease to Locals being one of those. That's our conversion program. Where if you were short-term renting or not using your home full-time and you wanted to convert to renting to a member of our local workforce, we offer incentives for that. And it's up to the shortest period of time is 5 months. So we try to capture our seasonal workers as well. And the incentive is up to $18,000, depending on how many bedrooms you're renting or how many workforce members you're housing. Our other innovative program that is starting to spread throughout the nation is Rooted Renters. That is our preservation program where you sign a contract with the town that says you agree to rent for 3 years. And it does not have to be to the same person. We understand people change jobs and they move, but you're in a 3-year commitment to rent to a member of our workforce, so that gives them housing stability options. Then we have home ownership options, which is our Truckee Home Access program. We have helped 40 people buy homes, so that's really long-term housing security, and we've only been operating that program for about 2 years. What we do is buy a deed restriction. So it's $150,000 or 16% of the appraised home value. We buy the deed restriction with that money. So the person that is buying the house then can use that money for a down payment. They can use it to remodel, or if there's home hardening, other upgrades. It's really up to them. We don't place a restriction on that. But when they go to sell that house, they have to sell it to a member of the workforce. So that is how we are trying to build this kind of secondary market that is for the workforce and will always be for the workforce. If the person owns the house for 55 years, then we let the deed restriction go and figure that we've gotten the money out of it for that purpose. But that is one of our other really cool programs that's getting a lot of traction. And then our newest program is called Homegrown Housing, and that is to incentivize development of new workforce housing. We'll be doing a groundbreaking ceremony in a couple weeks for our Edmonds Loft pilot project. That's what really started Homegrown Housing. That is 12 units of workforce housing on about 1/3 of an acre that was donated to the town behind High Altitude Fitness. So that'll all be, again, deed restricted for the local workforce. And that program actually offers an increased incentive amount if you are willing to deed restrict for a lower rental rate. So there's some options in there as well to really try to spread out the availability of housing for our variety of our workforce. Climate and sustainability, we have a number of really fun programs in our sustainability toolbox, if you will, and we have some new ones coming down that you might want to be aware of. The one that will be discussed at council very soon is our heat pump incentive program. So a lot more air conditioning units are being installed, probably because of smoke and climate change. So we'd like to incentivize heat pumps. They're a better alternative for that. So we're working through some incentive programs for that. And then our last community council priority is communications and belonging. We are expanding our Spanish language program and our Spanish language access. We have an inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility program that is all about making sure everybody feels welcome and like they belong here in Truckee, and it's important for us to hear their voice. And we are launching a youth commission. It's our first ever youth commission. We're interviewing right now for those, and the students will begin their work in the fall. So we're excited to hear from our young voices and see what's important to them. I want to throw out a couple more things. Every year when I'm here, we talk about emergency preparedness and dark skies. So we are continuing our dark skies awareness. We're looking into what certification would look like to be a dark skies certified community. There's a number of components that go into that, including events. Our photo competition is a really fun event. This is the third year we're doing it. It's in partnership with Nevada County Cultural District, Truckee Cultural District, Nevada City, and Visit Truckee Tahoe. The event or the contest is being hosted on the Visit Truckee Tahoe website this year, so you can find it there. It's been rebranded to keep it dark. It launched on Monday, and I looked this morning, and there are already 10 beautiful photos submitted that the community can vote on. And it's such a great topic to help educate through our cultural community, our arts community, and photography. So we're excited about that. And then also, who attended our block party last year, our first ever block party? A few people. It was really fun. It's in downtown Truckee. We have all of our nonprofits come out, all of our public agency partners come out, the town divisions are there, and it's meant for no other purpose than to get to know who we are and what we do and ask questions. There's food and fun tabling activities. This year we're going to expand the footprint a bit and close down Donner Pass Road, so there's a bit more space. We had about 900 people last year, which was a great surprise to us. So we're hoping everybody comes out again. September 17th is the block party. So mark that down. I think, James, you said you have one more trivia? We have two more trivia. Okay. What is the name of the town's new emergency alerting system? I think you got it, ma'am. Great job. So this is the tough question that I did not give you the answer to. What year did the town incorporate? 93. Well done. I will say that that was a bit of a trick question because the vote was in 1992, but the incorporation was in March of 93. So that was a very good guess. I just want to end by saying, we think that Truckee's future is really bright. Beyond our local projects, we're using our legislative platform to advocate for what we're hearing from our community in terms of our values. We've opposed the sale of public lands. We opposed funding cuts to the U.S. Forest Service. And we actually do have a voice at the state and the federal level. Our TART Connect program was recognized on the floor of Congress in Washington. And we are the state reaches out to us on many occasions asking for our thoughts on different things. The progress we see today is the result of years of collaboration and years of partnership. There's one of my favorite sayings is that without a sense of caring, there can be no sense of community. And I hope that you can feel how much your town team and our team of community builders really care for this community when you're interacting with your local government and experiencing everything that's happening in the town. So thank you for having me. We'll see you on September 17th, I hope, and have a great day today.
setting up my props to make sure I don't talk too long. I'm going to help us warm up a little bit. Good morning. How are all of you? It's so wonderful to see so many familiar faces and faces I don't recognize. That means that there's interested members here that want to come down and find out what we're all about. Before I begin, though, I want to recognize a few important groups of people who help make Tahoe Donner the special place it is. I'm going to ask for your help, so this is how we're going to get warm. Please hold your applause until we're done recognizing these people, and then we'll celebrate them all together with enthusiasm they deserve, which includes maybe standing up and shaking up out a little bit. So first, I want all committee members and committee emeritus to please stand, raise your hands up high. Come on, committee members, stand up if you can. Okay, stand up, everybody, and give them a nice big round of applause. Thank you so much. Okay. Emeritus, we don't have a formal emeritus program, but we sure lean on those older committee members who have done a lot. Seasoned. Well, you're not older. I'm older, too. Okay. My dear team, will you please come into the tent? Any Tahoe Donner employee, please come into the tent. You can come up front. Don't be shy. Come on. Keep coming, team. Thank you. We have most of our operator directors here, and then many of our management team. The rest of our team is out there delivering what we do best for you. That's creating your member experience, stewarding this precious place. And I'm just so proud of this team, and you're going to hear me talk about them more. But thank you, team, for being here if it's your day off. Thank you for squeezing time out from your operation. Okay, thank you. All right. As I thought about what I wanted to share with you this morning, I reflected on my early work years. Yes, early work years. Many decades ago at this point, long before I ever came to Tahoe Donner, when I worked as a professional lifeguard. Most people think of a lifeguard's job is responding to emergencies, jumping from the stand, running to save those in need. I'm sure you can picture it, right? I didn't wear my red today. But such heroics are only a small part of the job. The real responsibility is preventing emergencies before they happen and preparing yourself to act when they cannot be prevented. You spend your day scanning the water, looking cool maybe, doing that, looking for patterns, recognizing hazards, understanding how people make decisions, and preparing yourself physically and mentally so that when action is required, you're ready. That is how you earned trust as a lifeguard. People trust that someone is watching carefully and prepared to protect them and looking out for them before they even know how they need help. The best lifeguards aren't defined by the number of rescues they perform. They're defined by the emergencies they prevent, by the preparation that makes prevention possible, and by the trust their preparation and vigilance inspires. I often think about how these lessons I first learned as a lifeguard continue to guide my work here as the general manager. The general manager's job is more than running the day-to-day operations. An equally important responsibility is anticipating challenges, creating conditions for others to thrive, and preparing thoughtfully for tomorrow. It's no different from lifeguarding. seeing patterns before they become problems and recognizing opportunities before they pass us by, identifying risks before they become hazards. Looking ahead empowers us to prepare for what's coming instead of what's reacting to. We earn trust when members are confident that we are vigilant, prepared for what may come, and make decisions with Tahoe Honor's best interests in mind. And us getting through COVID is a really good example of how we were prepared for that. As a lifeguard, I was entrusted with the safety of swimmers and those people on the beaches and the pools. As your general manager, I'm entrusted with the stewardship of this community, its resources, facilities, standards, and member experience. One of the responsibilities I take most seriously is being a good steward of every assessment dollar, your hard-earned dollars. To me, that stewardship means continually asking a simple question: how can we create more value and member enjoyment from every dollar entrusted to us? Sometimes that means improving how we operate. Sometimes it means finding new partners. The town of Truckee is one of our partners. The Watershed Council is one of our partners. U.S. Forest Service is one of our partners. The fire department is one of our partners. Sometimes it means making investments today that reduce costs tomorrow, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Sometimes it means making difficult decisions because they're in the overall best interest of Tahoe Honor. Stewardship means continually improving, adapting thoughtfully, investing wisely, and never losing sight of what makes Tahoe Honor this special community. Look at all of you here. This thoughtful approach to planning on our shared values is especially important for Tahoe Honor's annual budget process, which we're starting. I'm so excited. It's one of my favorite times of the year. Every year before we begin building the budget, we first establish priorities. And I thank the board for buying into this with me. Last Friday, the board accepted the strategic budget drivers for 2027. Those priorities become the lens through which every recommendation is evaluated. Does it improve the member experience? Does it strengthen our long-term financial position? Does it reduce risk? Does it create lasting value? Stewardship also means strategic choices to strengthen Tahoe Honor for the long term. Our workforce housing strategy, which the board approved in May this year, is about investing in organizational continuity so we can continue attracting and retaining exceptional employees who deliver outstanding service. Our exploration of workers' comp group captive insurance, which is not your traditional insurance, began this spring, working through our risk and finance team and the finance committee in preparation for the annual budget. This initiative recognizes the years of investing workplace safety that can now translate into lower insurance costs and greater long-term value for our members. Ultimately, what does that mean to you? It means hopefully sustaining and reducing the costs that ultimately you're paying for in this annual assessment. Our continued pursuit of grants and strategic partnership brings additional resources to Tahoe Honor so every assessment dollar can accomplish more. Our Director of Land Management, John Groom, who's here today, in fact, met with Nevada County OES this week, and then the prior week with Wildlife Conservation Board and the Truckee River Watershed Council, in particular for a potential $2 million grant to be applied down in your valley. We continue to look at these dollars outside of Tahoe Honor that expands the value of your assessment dollars, increases the work that we're doing here, and that sustains this organization for the long term. Different initiatives, the same approach and purpose. Think ahead, manage responsibly, create lasting value, and preparing for the future. That approach also shapes how we operate every day. Whether we're improving member services, modernizing technology, which is coming forward soon, refining processes, planning future investments, capital investments, we continually to ask the question, what can we do to make Tahoe Honor better and stronger today and tomorrow? That's not just a kitsch phrase. That's truly how we feel. The staff feels, the committees feel, the board feels, and we're asking ourselves that. You heard, this approach is what we will bring in the next chapter of our long-term community planning. You heard President Levine talk about the Tahoe Donner Community Plan. That's an initiative that we're launching. We're in the readiness stage this year, and we launched that project in 2027. The community plan is an opportunity to look ahead with vigilance, to identify emerging patterns. Does this sound familiar? Understands risks, recognizes opportunities, and prepare thoughtfully for the future. The plan will be an act of stewardship, helping us to protect what members value most while making careful decisions about the future of our facilities, services, and community investments. And it will depend on you and all of us carefully listening to each other, hearing from our members directly, creating meaningful opportunities for participation, and taking member input seriously as we consider the values, priorities, and vision that will guide Tahoe Donner in the future. Of course, preparation and stewardship and long-range plans are just words until people put them into action. One of the greatest privileges I'll get through this. My team knows I have some emotions. Partly because they work so hard. One of the greatest privileges of being general manager is having a front row seat supporting the people who bring Tahoe Donner to life every day, our employees. They don't simply maintain facilities. They create experiences. Members don't always see our winter and maintenance staff in the early mornings clearing snow, the food and beverage team, and the whole Tahoe Donner team in efforts for late night evening close after events such as the summer concert on the green. Boy, do we have a lot of fun with gloves on, moving porta potties, cleaning up trash. All of that stuff is fun. We do that as a team, and we say it's fun. It's a race. Just to shed a little light on this team. It's a race on the second night of the concert. If we can get done before the production team can get done and closed up, and then we just get to sit there and watch them finish their work, showing that we are such a good team in all efforts. Again, the planning behind every project or the countless moments when an employee quietly goes the extra mile because they genuinely care about this community. I couldn't be prouder of the team and more grateful for the professionalism and creativity and care they bring to Tahoe Donner every day, and many of them are members. So it's doubly over. They care about this community. The same commitment to serve extends to our volunteer leaders. Our board of directors provides governance and long-term direction. Thank you so much. You are such a wonderful partner. Our volunteer committees contribute expertise and valuable perspectives. And of course, again, back to the team, our staff brings board decisions to life. But importantly, our members, all of you, continue to make us better by sharing ideas, asking questions, volunteering, and staying engaged. We don't always agree. That is healthy. I truly believe that. Better decisions come from listening, challenging assumptions, respecting different viewpoints, and keeping our focus on Tahoe Donner's long-term interests. That's one of the things I appreciate most about this community. You can ask my team. I ask them to have robust conversations with me, and we do. That is how we lead, and that's how we grow together. Before I close, I'd like to recognize two individuals for their long service to the community. Courtney Morell and Don Kunis have dedicated countless hours at Tahoe Donner, often quietly and behind the scenes, helping guide decisions that will benefit this community for years to come. Courtney. Might get a little emotional like you got on Friday. One of the privileges of spending more than 2 decades at Tahoe Honor has been the opportunity to work alongside you through many chapters of our lives. From my years as recreation manager, when we worked together at Trout Creek, to today, I've watched your commitment to this community remain constant, along with your great shoes and your commitment to making Tahoe Honor fun. Your love and enthusiasm for Tahoe Honor have always been evident, not only in the decisions you've made, including raising your family here, but in the relationships you've built and the genuine care you've shown for our members, employees of this community. You've always been fearless, yet open-minded in tackling hard topics during your board service. Thank you for helping make Tahoe Honor fun, welcoming, connected communities so many families are proud to call home. I have a special gift for her upstairs, and you'll see her parading it around. It's very apropos, Courtney. Okay. Don, who can't be here today, unfortunately, but I know he'll be listening. Don, your leadership came during some of the most consequential years of Tahoe Honor's recent history. Through challenges that demanded steady leadership and difficult decisions, you remain focused on strengthening governance, restoring confidence, and always asking what was in the best interest of Tahoe Honor long term. You demonstrated the leadership that isn't measured in titles. It's measured by integrity, consistency, and willingness to put the organization ahead of yourself. Courtney and Dawn, on behalf of our staff, our members, and this entire community, thank you for your extraordinary service and for helping make Tahoe Honor stronger than you found it. I love this. At the beginning of my remarks, I shared a lesson I learned as a lifeguard. Prepare before you need to. That lesson continues to shape how I think about leadership for this remarkable community. We can't predict every challenge. I do read a lot of fantasy, just so you know, so I am thinking about what this world is going to be like in the future. Maybe it'll have some fairies, maybe some other crazy things, but I remember reading Fahrenheit 451 and thinking all things impossible, and now many things are possible, and they are real. More than possible, they are here today. But again, prepare thoughtfully, be responsible stewards, and lead together. You might hear me say this. It's not just one person or the board. It's all of us together. We have to. That's the only way. That's how great communities are built. Not by accident, but through thoughtful decisions we make every day and our shared commitment to ensuring Tahoe Honor remains strong for generations to come. Before I turn the mic back to Benjamin, as I think this has gone long. Oh, no, I am on time. Oh, good. First time ever. Before I turn it back to Benjamin for the conclusion of the annual meeting, I'd like to express our collective thanks to Tamia Grisay, Executive Assistant, to the GM and Board Clerk for administrative and logistical support to the Elections Committee for the Director election this day. Lindsay Hogan, Director of Communications and Member Relations, and her two teams, the Communication Department and Member Services, for their role in supporting the Elections Committee activities. The Elections Committee, I don't know if they're all out here, if they're still in the back meadow room, to the Elections Committee for another successful director election. To Bill Saylor and team from Bernard Vogler Accountancy for supporting secure elections and facilitating today and yesterday's ballot count. This year was a wild one for us. We were all here yesterday. It was like a big party. And especially to Brent Collinson, our Inspector of Elections, for his legal oversight and administrative of the Director of Elections. Thank you again for being here today with us. It is truly a privilege to serve this remarkable community. All right, Benjamin.
All right. I need to adjust this a little now. I've been informed that we do have the questions coming in about 5 minutes, so I think that we will just stand at ease for a moment while we figure out how many questions our most experienced board member, Courtney, will be answering today.
Test. Can you hear me? Test. Hello. Can you hear me? Test. Testing. Much better. Thank you, Jesse. Call here.
You want to?
Jen Calloway.
I haven't seen any from Jen yet.
Oh, she whiz.
Where was the town manager? Test. John Groom, Lindsay Hogan, and John Mitchell, could you please come up to the stage? And Miguel.
And Jen. We'll start with Jen.
Miguel is coming. We're waiting for Lindsay, John Groom, and John Mitchell. And Jen, I think you'll be the first one. And then you'll be free to catch up with Keith. Here.
Who is that?
The new one. Somebody just handed it to me. Why were
Heads of equestrian, downhill skiing, navy forestry, and lodge, bishop, so wide. That's got to be in the end.
I think that we are almost ready to begin the member questions portion.
Ready.
All right, I think that we are ready to get going. I believe we are going to start with a question that was directed at Jen Calloway.
All right, this is bonus time. It's exciting. The question is, would it be possible for the snow plows to plow the higher elevation roads before those at the lower elevation in Tahoe Donner? Also, the night plow must plow in April when we have huge storms like we did this year. So we actually are divided into many different plowing sectors within the town, and they plow based on some of the higher elevations are a lot more challenging, so more of our long-term snow removal operators take that site, and then we are plowing based on how we can get people to move throughout the community. So I will pass this along that there's an interest in trying to get there quicker. And then, yes, we have a lot of seasonal snow removal operators that we bring on, and this year the weather was really kind of crazy, and we had that late storm in April. We do oftentimes keep our operators on through April, but because we had such a gap, we didn't have as many people on. So sorry for the inconvenience that may cause, but yay, we got snow and we needed the moisture. So that's my question.
Thank you, Jen. All right, John Mitchell, our Director of Capital Projects and Facilities, is going to answer a couple of the questions.
All right, I'll just lean down. See, I need Annie's help for everything. Okay, first question. Tell us about the future Class 1 bike path along Northwoods. Super exciting project, one of our more exciting ones. Really needed, really trying to focus on a pedestrian, cycle-friendly community. This project is going to pick up the Class 1 trail over here on the town's terminus of the Trout Creek Trail and extend through Tahoe Donner, hopefully bisecting most of the entire community and association, and probably terminate at Alder Creek Adventure Center with spurs off of the trail to connect into a lot of our other key roadways and neighborhoods. The trail project is underway. It's a team effort. We are taking the lead. My team's taking the lead, but we're working with the town of Truckee closely. We are utilizing Truckee Central Service Area 1 funding, TSSA 1 funding. You'll hear us talk a lot about that, to completely fund the planning portion of that project. We have proposals in from many super qualified consulting teams. We are in the process of selecting that team, and we will be starting our planning and a lot of our environmental analysis and surveys for that project this summer. Okay, next question. When will you install mailboxes for everyone? This is the biggest question we get every year. We're working on it. We're teamed up with the Postal Service and the local postmaster here in Truckee, developing that plan. We have clear direction now on what is needed. I see it as a phased approach for utilizing our current mailbox cluster areas. Definitely going to require some extensive expansion. We currently have just over 2,000 mailboxes, and we need 6,500. And we need buy-off from the Postal Service that they can also manage this huge increase and change in operation. It is funded in the next, as a phased approach, in our capital funds starting this year over the next 3 years, and we are actively working on it. Okay, when will we be able to use the new downhill ski lodge in the summer and fall? This has some major complications. We are not currently zoned for that use, nor is it included in our use permit. This is going to take some work with our partnership in the town of Truckee if we decide as an association that we want to go in this direction. But currently we are not permitted for this use, and we are continuing to utilize that facility in our off-season for our day camps and office space. And that's all I have.
I'll keep the mic high and have Miguel come over.
Good morning still. Yeah, I have a two-part question here that I'm going to answer. As 9-hole tee times are limited, is there consideration to expand the availability of times? Certainly something I can bring up with our leadership team up at the golf course. I know there are some nuanced challenges that impact that operation when we start adding 9-hole times, but it is something we can explore, potentially expanding moving forward. And then secondly, as our property owners are aging, any long-term plans to add an executive course? Currently, there are no long-term plans. We do have a challenge in that it's actually very, very expensive to operate a golf course at this elevation, and with limited opportunity to generate revenue in the summer months, any additional course that we would add would obviously really increase that expense. So at this point, there are no long-term plans, but that is long-term plans are a point of discussion through every budget process every year with John and his group and capital planning. So that's it.
Thank you. Lindsay Hogan.
Hi, Lindsay Hogan, Director of Communication and Member Relations. My question is, why is there no app? And it would be very informative as to what was going on if we could log in. So we have had an app in the past, but based on user data and feedback and the cost of it, there weren't very many people using it. It wasn't a very functional app. So we actually sunset that app about a year ago. We're in the process right now of finalizing an RFP to do a full new mobile-friendly website. So instead of putting resources into an app, we're actually going to take a step back and work on building a new website that's mobile-friendly, easier navigation, based on member feedback, and putting some of our resources towards that. So instead of doing it two separate directions, we're looking to award that contract in about Q4 this year and start that project. Building a web for 17 different types of business types and all the things that we offer here is a complex process. So we anticipate that project will take about, 8 to 12 months. And so that would probably be a late 2027 deliverable that comes from, to you guys and based on your feedback. So thank you.
Thank you. Benjamin, are you ready?
Now this is too low now. So my question is, do the string lights from Costco violate the Dark Skies program? I will just say there is a reason I got this question, because this is a question I've been talking to staff about for longer than I've been on the board. And my question has always been, do these, never mind Dark Skies provisions from the town, are these consistent with our rules and CNRs? And let's just say there's still considerable debate around this. However, this is a wonderful time to ask this question, because we are about to embark on a top-to-bottom update of our architectural standards rules and also our covenants rules. And I think that this is a fantastic issue to bring up as we begin to discuss those rule updates. If you would like to come talk to me further about string lights from Costco, I would be delighted to talk with you about them.
Jay, are you ready to respond?
Somehow I got, excuse me, I got two questions. And so let me read the first one anyway. What do you see as the biggest risk for a Tahoe Donner? A tough question. I'm going to answer it in a couple of different ways. When I gave my prepared remarks earlier, I said weather was one of the biggest risks, at least from a financial perspective, and I still stand by that. Part of the answer, though, also is I think what all of us in a mountain community see is obvious: fire. And we need to pay attention to that. That is a big risk. But here's the other part of the answer that I think about. I think of our community here, and I use community in a broad sense, all the people here and our relationships, all of our membership. I think if we are a strong community, whatever risks come upon us, I think we will be able to deal with. If we're not a strong community, then we all have issues. So I answer the question that way. Let's make sure we have a strong community, and then the risks that we can't anticipate, we will make sure we will succeed and be successful in dealing with them. Okay? Now the next question, if I had a magic answer for this, I think well, when you hear the question, you'll understand why it's a challenge. So the question is, affordability is the dominant issue in California for the next decade. How do you plan to address this over the next decade, particularly with the increasing divide between people making money in the equity markets, in other words, tech, and others struggling to keep up with inflation? There's the question. As I said, if I had the magic answer for this, I'm sure I could perhaps sell it or do something else. I don't know. But I have a couple of thoughts on this, and maybe you'll hear a consistent theme. Certainly one way to deal with this, we constantly look at expenses and try to minimize and become more efficient where we can. We certainly can look at the other end, and that is, are there revenue enhancements? So from a financial perspective, you look at kind of both sides of the profit and loss statement. But this is a long-term question and a long-term plan. And as you heard other speakers say this morning, our community plan, as we develop that, I think this is one of the issues that we should be thinking about, and I know we'll be thinking about, to how to keep this community vibrant with these various pressures. And then what I said a minute ago with respect to the other answer, the community here is critical. It's very important, and it's one of our best assets. And if we work together to keep in mind the various pressures that this community faces, that I'm sure we will be able to deal with it and be successful as a community. That's my answer. Thank you.
Okay, just a few more, because I know people are excited to hear about the results of the election and then go eat lunch. John Groom, our Director of Land Management, has several questions.
I've got three. Yes, it gets lowered for me. I've got three questions. Our trail system is fabulous. What can be done to encourage or require donations for non-residents that is more prominent at Trailhead? So actually, I brought this up. We've got John Drum over at our table is actually our new stewardship coordinator. And at all of our Trailhead kiosks, we actually have QR codes where folks can donate now. On the back, we're also putting this on the back of our trail maps. When you head out there, we don't really want you to feel like we're asking you for more. It's not for members. You already fund your whole trail system, and we appreciate that. And we're also considering putting these at some of the more popular trails we know folks from outside the community are riding and using. So they're at our trailheads if you're interested in that. Number 2, is there any documentation that TD can provide with regards to fire prevention classification? Yes. Online on the Tahoe Donner website, you can actually download your FireWise community certificate, and that may help you with your fire insurance. You can also reach out to our program, and we're happy to provide you with your defensible space report that shows that you've completed that work. And the third question, can you tell us about the work being done in your valley and the partnerships? I could go on and on about the work being done in your valley. If you haven't been down there, it is one of the most spectacular places in the entire region. We're working with the Watershed Council on 3 different phases of projects. We've done a complete watershed assessment down there. Your Valley Phase 1 last year built a boardwalk and a bridge across the valley and put the stream back into its original channel. The stream had been rerouted at some point in the early 1900s, and so now Your Valley Phase 2 with the Watershed Council, and this has massive funding. We're talking millions and millions of dollars going into this restoration with state agencies and other organizations. We are working on 4 separate projects down there that we've been doing member tours, doing bus tours, so if you haven't had a chance to get down there with us, please come, and if we have enough interest, we just did one big bus tour. I think we had about 30 people down there, so if you'd like to do another one, please reach out to us, and if we get enough interest, we'll do one this fall. But we've got ongoing work down there for the next couple of years. Trail upgrades, relocating the stream back to its original channel, holding more moisture in the valley, and fixing our roads down there so that they don't provide sedimentation into the creek. So happy to talk about that off to the side at our table. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Everybody else had their glasses on. Now I get to put mine on. Okay. I got some of the more complex questions, I think, besides affordability. I'm going to start with a question. Why were the heads of equestrian, downhill ski, and the lodge removed? Unfortunately, those are personnel matters. I think most people know, and I can't speak to the reasons. I want to just say, we don't ask staff to leave this organization without good reason, especially staff that may have been with us for many, many years. This is not the thing that we look forward to, especially because we've grown with these people and they've had to move on from the organization. I ask for your trust in knowing that we are making the best decisions for this organization and the best decisions for the members and their enjoyment and their safety here at this organization with our staff. So I'm going to move on. Why do restaurants lose money? Is this just accounting, i.e. allocating overhead to reduce taxes, or some other reason? I will just remind the membership that up until about 2019, our food and beverage operations were breaking even, and actually they were making a small profit, consolidated. And especially the lodge. The lodge actually was making not a profit, they were a positive net operating result. There was a decision to no longer have the event tent behind the lodge and to reduce the amount of banquets and events there. Banquets and events bring more people, and we generate more revenue with those large groups, 150, 250 weddings and other big groups. That is how we were able to get to a net zero with our operation. With removing that business and then COVID hit, we reduced the revenue by over $600,000 And who has to pay for that? Unfortunately, that ends up being the membership. We are building back our business. A couple other things happened. Degradation of our brands at Alder Creek Cafe and even at the lodge. And we're building that back. We've made some transition in staff to ensure that we're listening to the members and we're delivering on the member expectations. It's an incremental process, but I can say we are doing better than we did yesterday, and we're doing better than we did even a year ago. Pizza on the Hill is what I would say crushing their operation. If you're down here, yep. That management team has a serious goal to get to net zero, and they are sure showing real good signs that it is a possibility. The lodge, food, consistency, quality, and pricing is being addressed. But part of that also is food expense and the expense to staff that. It's the whole balance that you heard Jay talk about. But we are consistently working on this day to day. We invite you to come back to the lodge and experience the lodge. It's one of the reasons why we've shifted some of the events, and we're offering some new pilot programs this summer. On Mondays, if you go to the lodge, if you provide your member ID card, you can get 20% off your bill, okay, on Mondays. Certain things like that, trying to bring the membership back in to understand that we are carefully and consistently working to get that fixed. Last summer, we did a pause at Alder Creek Cafe. We knew the brand had completely blown off where it needed to be for the cross-country center and our summertime activities there. We did a strategic pause, and boy, did we hear from the membership about it. There was no French fries, there was no hamburgers, but there was no fine food there for healthy food for people to eat. We reintroduced the menu with a new chef that is a vegan chef, and he's very focused on bringing the healthy food back to Alder Creek Cafe, hot foods and cold foods. And if you haven't been there yet, boy, I would go there. It's amazing food, and we have expanded the hours for the summer. All of those operations are performing fabulously due to the visitation and the belief in that. Okay, so we are getting there, and we do believe that that will reduce the deficit on those. Finally, and my most favorite question, would it be possible for Tahoe Donner to ban the use of tacky green plastic holders of slow down, children at play signs? They're an eyesore. We do get complaints about roadside signs, and it's I hate to use this, it's not an excuse, it's a complex issue because of placing in the town right-of-way. We do not have jurisdiction in the town right-of-way. And so if those signs are in the town right-of-way, we can't really do anything about it. But we do have great conversations with the homeowners to indicate that we do receive complaints, and many think that those are eyesores. But we have a limited enforcement around that. But we do have other sign regulations. If you've ever been called or emailed by community standards about the signs on in your house or in the front of your house, you'll know we do enforce those complaints when we get them. So it's not an easy fix. Similarly to people that park their boats or RVs alongside the road. That's another similar issue. Okay, with that, I'll turn it over to you, Benjamin, and to Brent Collinson, our Inspector of Elections.
Yeah. So before I ask Brent to come up to the podium to announce the election results, the board has a tiny bit of business from Friday to finish up. So I'd like to entertain a motion. So the motion is to adjourn the May 26th board meeting. We have a motion from Denise, seconded by Courtney. All in favor? Aye. With that, Brent?
Thanks, Benjamin. First, I want to thank everybody who did vote, because as you probably heard, we were having some issues getting to quorum, but we reached that on Friday. I also want to thank Bill Saylor of Bernard Vogel CPAs for doing the heavy work on tabulating all the ballots. The Elections Committee, Steve, Crystal, Bob, and Min. Now we'll get to the numbers. There are 6,473 members that are eligible to vote. 25% quorum is 1,619. We received a total of 1,736 ballots. 23 were disqualified. 1,713 were counted. The 1,713, there were 35 votes for quorum purposes only, leaving 1,678 votes cast. There were a total of 3,049 votes cast. Of that, the totals were for Carl Cato, 696, Nicholas Rabb, 1,166, and Don Kunis, 1,187. So the two winners are Don Kunis and Nicholas Rabb. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent, for all the work that you have done to make sure this election ran smoothly. So, it is a bit of a Tahoe Donner miracle. We are running about 15 minutes early. However, we have one last little thing to do, which is to adjourn today's annual meeting. Courtney? We have a motion from Courtney, seconded by Denise, to adjourn the annual meeting. All in favor? Aye. The annual meeting is adjourned. We thank all of you for coming today and enjoy the barbecue.